Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today I have a requested topic of gaslighting by your ex, or is your ex gaslighting you, and what to do about it. And to be honest with you, I didn't know this term till doing breakup coaching the last few years. And obviously, the umbrella that gaslighting creates has a lot of different things. And so I'm going to unpack that today, just the term gaslighting in itself, being a term and what it means. And interpretation is up to you on any word. A lot of times people go, well, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. And then you can go to the dictionary on Google and you can say, well, this is what it means. The reality is we all interpret words in different ways. So it's up to you. But I'm going to unpack it with a little bit of research I've done online, a little bit of what I know about it. And I'm going to give you some stories in my own life where I went, oh, okay, this is when I've been gaslit before. So if you like the live stream, throw me a like. If you don't like it, it's better to have an opinion. If you'd like to subscribe, hit the red button. You already know that. And there'll be a live stream every day this week. And that will be posted on my Instagram at Coach Mac McCarthy. So if you want to check that out, my Instagram has more personal photos of me living in Thailand, some cool pictures and whatnot. And if you'd like to send your story in, go to writemac.com. It's there on the post, WRITEMAC.com. Send your story in, and I could review it on a YouTube video like this, or we could go straight into a live coaching session on FaceTime or Skype or Google Hangouts and fully unpack your breakup in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on how bad the breakup is or how many details you want to divulge. And if you don't find it useful or helpful, what I do and how I help you, I will give you a refund. So let's get into it today. What is gaslighting? Good question. What is gaslighting? So if you Google gaslighting, obviously there's a couple sites that come right up. I think one's Healthline, one's Psychology Today. A lot of basic material there. But one thing I was going to pull up is basically what I found was this on this information. Basically, gaslighting is a tactic in which a person or entity, I think this is really interesting, entity to me is a ghost, in order to gain more power, makes a victim question their reality. For example, in the movie Gaslight, 1944, a man manipulates his wife to the point where she thinks she is losing her mind. So I didn't even know there was a movie. What's up, Rob? This one's for you, bud. Thanks for telling me about this topic as a suggestion. So gaslighting examples. People who gaslight become expert at punishing your buttons, punishing, and they know your sensitivities, vulnerabilities, and use that knowledge against you. They make you doubt yourself, your judgment, your memory, and even your sanity. So please let me know in the comments below if you agree with this depiction of what gaslighting is. Examples include trivializing how you feel. Oh yeah, now you're going to feel sorry for yourself? Another example, telling you that people are talking behind your back. Don't you know the whole family talks about you? They think you're losing it. This is interesting because I've actually had this happen as a teacher. Being someone that taught at a university for years, I actually had a student that could be manipulative, obviously. And I remember she came to me and she told me, hey, look, this teacher's been talking behind your back and not talking very nice. I just wanted to tell you. And I thought to myself, I have a pretty good relationship with that teacher. It's a superior of mine. I've never felt, maybe that person said some things about me, but it was definitely an example of gaslighting, because the things that this individual was telling me that this other teacher was saying didn't line up. I actually, if you ever have this situation where someone's saying other people are saying things about you, if you're a strong, confident individual, you can directly confront the person. If you think it's just a bullshit thing, you have a right to say, well, I'm going to confront that person and see if they've said these things about me. Now, to me, what the fine line is in a good communication technique is you don't come at someone where you accuse them of something. Say, I have a problem with some of my work that I've done this last month, And if they're like, oh, no, I've had a couple people drop in my ear and I don't believe what they're saying. I just want to know, did you have something you wanted to talk to me about? And that's what I did with this other teacher. I said, look, you can talk to me if no, I didn't say anything. So regardless if something was said or wasn't said, instead of letting the gaslighter get away with manipulating your mind and somehow encouraging you. And then here's the thing about this situation. This individual did not like that teacher at all. So she wanted someone on her side. She wanted someone on her team, and she wanted me to not like that teacher too. And I caught this in a millisecond. Is it possible that teacher did say something bad about me? Sure. I mean, was it something that I could live with? Probably. Sure. I mean, people are way too sensitive these days. The amount of people that work together and behind each other's back might make a critical comment. Give me a break. It's all over the place, right? And someone, oh, it's not fair. It's human. Okay. So I knew right when she had said that, this is a situation where she would like me not to like this individual so I could be on the same team. So I saw it from far away. And then I actually, like I said, confronted the other teacher in a way that was inquisitive, not making accusation. So that's one way to handle it. If someone ever does that to you where they're like, oh, this person said this, this, and this about you. And I suppose if you were in a relationship, one way to come about it, someone will say, well, your friend said this, or your mom said this about you. Really? My mom said that about me? You confront it. You don't just eat it or digest it as law. If you're dealing with someone that's gaslighting, I think at the core of who they are is blatant liar. Saying things to you that they later haven't said. I didn't say that. I'd take the deposit to the bank. What are you talking about? See, this is something that I don't feel I've dealt with in a relationship where someone's blatantly lying about you telling them to do something. I have an extremely good memory, so this would drive me nuts personally. It's one of those things. I'm not perfect, but at the same time, if I remember things, it's kind of funny because having a good memory, I don't know if you've ever witnessed this, Rob, because I think you have a good memory also. Having a good memory, sometimes people, friends, colleagues, people you've known for a long time, you're like, wow, this person, and myself included. So I think a lot of people exaggerate more than they think. But I remember numbers really well for some reason. Don't know why. But if someone goes, oh, I got a new job, I'm making $80,000 a year, and I got a full benefits package, it makes it out to 120 a year. I'll remember that. I don't know how, it's like Rain Man, but I remember it. And then like you go around the same person, and like a month later, 2 months later, they're like, oh yeah, I make $100,000 a year, and my benefits package just pulls it up to about 180. And you're just like, didn't you tell me that story before, but with different numbers? Have you ever had that happen? And I'm like, to me, that's just exaggeration. I don't know if that's gaslighting. But there's just people that exaggerate more than you know who they are, right? As long as they're not making you a bad guy. I guess gaslighting is an exaggeration where it makes you the bad guy. Here's one, hiding objects from you and then deny knowing anything about it. You seriously can't find your sunglasses again? That's alarming. This is just kid-like. To hide someone's stuff and then say, oh, you can't find it. I've never witnessed this in a relationship. I would find it highly immature. I don't, if you're with someone like that and you realize that they're hiding your stuff, I mean, how would you be in a relationship with someone like that? Another one, insisting you were or were not at a certain place, even though it's not true. You're crazy. You never went to that show with me. I should know. Again, a lot of this falls under blatant lying. So then it goes on gaslighting and narcissism. So people with narcissistic personality disorder believe they're extremely important and that the world revolves around them. So basically, gaslighting is a characteristic of narcissism, which I would probably agree upon. A person with narcissistic personality disorder project an inflated sense of self-importance, exaggerate their achievements, respond to criticism with anger, use others for personal gain, expect special consideration or special treatment, are highly critical of others, become envious and jealous easily. Wow. Those are a lot of things that I would say that human beings as a whole have snippets and little pieces of. I mean, I've been jealous in my life. I've been critical of others in my life. And so it makes you wonder, at what level is this gauge? But a full-blown narcissistic person is a 1 out of 10. They're a 10 on all of these. What's interesting is upon reading this, at the end of it, it says, recognizing that you're a victim in your relationship is the important first step toward getting help. I really have a problem with you as an individual in a relationship, and you regard yourself as a victim of gaslighting. When I first read it just made me cringe. Here's the thing. After reading more of this, like I said, I know the term gaslighting. I know what someone means. And what was interesting, and the reason why I think I don't relate with it is, I always, like most people, I look at my own relationships and I'm like, I haven't dealt with this a whole lot, or I haven't dealt with a partner where I was battling it long term. I have had colleagues and neighbors pull it on me big time. And so I'm going to share those stories. And I was thinking to myself, like I said, I've had 4 serious relationships, and I have good things to say about my past girlfriends. And obviously they ended on different terms. And but overall, very good relationships, good people. And, looking back, I never felt like there was a blatant lie. To me, like, a blatant lie is something where you go out of your way to lie about something in a creative way that someone's like, wow. And to do that habitually, fool me once, fool me twice, but 3 times you're the fool, right? So, Scotty W., how you doing? Gaslighters know people like stability and normalcy. They can wear you down and make you question. Confusion, weakness, people, it gives them power if you allow. Yeah, that's straight off the website Psychology Today. I'm not saying you got that from there, but that's up there. Thanks for the likes, folks. Crystal Unfiltered Tarot, welcome. It's been a while, as the great song goes. So let me get back into this. And like I said, when I was reading and going over it a bit, like I said, I'm thinking to myself, I haven't had a partner like that. I haven't had a partner. To me, if someone lied to you or something like that, you're not a full-blown gaslighter, okay? Psychology Today is a good resource for this topic. This is what I'm going to unpack the next source, Rob. Yeah, Psychology Today, it seems like it has some good topics to work off of, and that's what I'm going to work off of from here. So, pulling that up really quick. So they had on psychologytoday.com the 11 warning signs of gaslighting. So rather than read all this, I'm not going to do that, but they tell blatant lies. Now this one got me because to me, blatant lies, it's an outright lie, yet they are telling you this lie with a straight face. Why are they so blatant? Because they're setting up a precedent. Once they tell you a huge lie, you're not sure if anything they say is true. Keeping you unsteady and off kilter is the goal. What's interesting about this is I wonder, do you really think individuals know that they're gaslighting? Do you really think in their mind that they know that they're setting you up? Or is this just subconscious behavior that they've built based on past experiences where this has worked for them? Because the behaviors people have as adults, the reason why they use them, they get something from that behavior, and they've gotten something from that behavior since they were young, right? It's like, how can an adult individual be a spoiled brat with their partner? Probably when they were young, their mom and dad didn't say no a lot when they wanted a toy, right? Have you ever been around a friend and their wife, or maybe even their husband, they're spoiled brats? If they don't get what they want, they make a scene and they're traumatic. I haven't witnessed this very often because these are people I don't like to hang out with. They're adult spoiled brats, right? And they know how to manipulate the situation to get what they want. And so they aren't born that way. They know that when they were young, if they used a certain playbook, they would get what they want. From what I've experienced, it happens when someone has a low self-esteem, and this is their equalizer. Oh, that's an interesting point, Scott. I never thought of it that way. Makes sense where I'm going to go with this. So blatant lie, I'll come back to that. When I read that, and then I'm thinking all-time blatant lies that people have told me, and I'm like, oh God, they definitely gaslit me. And they weren't partners. They were colleagues, and one was a neighbor. And like I said, I'm going to circle back to this, but let me go through these things. Number 2, they deny they ever said something even though you have proof. So this would just be cementing a lie, I would say, this gaslighting. That, in other words, like, that wasn't me on camera. Isn't it amazing now with video and camera, you just can't run? I mean, years ago, I've shared this story, I think, before. Years ago, a really good friend of mine, his son was going to high school, and his son got into this really expensive private school. And it was, I think it was the first week of private school. The kid wasn't really excited. It was an all boys school. So he goes, and I don't know if his parents had pushed him into it or what the scenario was. Bottom line is, it's a top school. Okay. It's a prestigious school. It's very expensive. He was in it. So at lunchtime, he steals a kid's cell phone. We can call it an iPhone, but one of these smartphones. This is years back, right? So he doesn't say anything. He steals the phone. He does it in the lunchroom. So the school makes a loudspeaker announcement and says, does anyone have knowledge of Johnny J's such and such Samsung phone, right? So the school is giving this individual a chance to turn the phone in. Doesn't respond. Then they wait till the end of school. Hey, does anyone have any knowledge of Johnny J's phone, whatever the kid's name is? Doesn't turn it in. Then they announce my friend's son over the loudspeaker, and they say, can so-and-so please come to the office now? So they gave him 2 chances to come clean, and he didn't. So when they called him in the office, they were like, hey, do you know anything about this phone being stolen? Point blank, nope, I don't know. And the teachers go, are you sure? Or the principal goes, you sure? He goes, no, I don't know anything about that. And then they just turned the computer around, and they showed him the video from the lunchroom of him stealing the phone. He was kicked out of school immediately because they said, we gave you 2 chances to admit it. Then we asked you point blank, you did 3 lies. See, now, this is really interesting to me because this is where you're like, the camera doesn't lie, right? In some ways. He didn't have anything to say at that point. His blatant lie was dust, right? He got kicked out of school. He had a consequence. The interesting thing is, afterwards, he couldn't even explain it to his parents because it was like, his parents he already had an expensive phone, and he just said, and then later on, he's like, I was going to give it back to the kid. So the kid didn't have very much consequences. My point is, nowadays with blatant lies and cameras everywhere and recording systems, you blatantly lie, be ready for someone to have some proof on your ass, right? Be ready, because there's just too much of it out there. They use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. So this is a big one for addicts. Growing up with a father that was a bad drinker or drunk, let's just say, when that individual is drunk and they don't want to take accountability, they immediately go for the kneecaps on anything personal that could hurt you, about your family, about something that is your Achilles heel. And I didn't know that this was considered gaslighting, but I definitely know what this is. And so they know your soft spots, and they'll attack those spots to take any kind of blame or accountability off them. So for a drug addict doesn't want to quit doing drugs, might say something like, oh, you haven't gotten a job for 3 months and you don't take care. Like, they just start throwing back ammunition. They go on offense and stop being on defense. And so what they do is they create a situation where the other individual's on defense, defending and explaining themselves, and the other person gets exhausted and doesn't even want to confront them on their drinking or drug problem. Does that make sense? So they wear you down over time. This is one of the insidious things about gaslighting. It is done gradually over time. A lie here, a lie there, a snide comment every so often, and then it starts ramping up. So It's a slowly but surely thing. Their actions do not match their words. When dealing with a person or entity that gaslights, look at what they are doing rather than what they are saying. Um, they throw in positive reinforcement to confuse you. I thought this was interesting. This person or entity that is cutting you down, telling you that you don't have value, is now praising you for something you did. This adds an additional sense of uneasiness. Well, this is just manipulation, right? This is controlling the frame. And sometimes I'm going to give you a treat of a compliment, and other times I'm going to tell you how bad you are. They know confusion weakens people. They project. They try to align people against you. So let's move back to this. They know confusion weakens people. This is something Scotty W. meant. They project. So they might accuse you of what they already do, so they don't get accused. This is very common with cheating people. I've been shocked by the amount of people that I've had in live coaching sessions that, if you're going to assume or you were to stereotype them based on maybe their job, how they present themselves, you'd think, oh, this person's an honest person, they would never cheat. And one of the interesting things is I had a client a while back, and this person's head and shoulders high achiever, very honest, very morally correct in a lot of ways. And she had a boyfriend that had left her for a new woman, and she was crushed. She was upset by it, and she's going on. They had been together for 2.5 years, and she's going on and on about it. And she's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he cheated on me before we left and all this other stuff. And we get deeper and deeper into the live coaching session. She's like, actually, I did cheat on him. I'm, really? You? Because just the way she talked and was, and so proper in different ways. And she's like, yeah, I did actually. And I felt really bad about it. And she's like, I think he knew, but I denied it. And so, but she wasn't necessarily accusing him of doing it afterwards. She said she felt guilty. She slipped. There's a guy that she was highly attracted to and curious about, and they hooked up. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, wow, I would have never thought you would have done that. So people surprise you sometimes. But the ironic thing was she was pissed off that this guy cheated on her. What goes around comes around, I suppose. So they try to align people against you. This is a pretty dirty one. I've never dealt with this with a partner. I've dealt with this with some, I wouldn't even call it a friend. When you have like peripheral friends or friends of friends, and you're like, this person is just dark energy. You just know that they're not a good person. And I've had a couple times people try to align people against me, and I say, good luck. Because I generally feel like I have a pretty good reputation amongst my friends. They tell you or others that you are crazy. They tell you everyone else is a liar. So these were some examples of it. What I was going to talk about now, let's see where we're at here. Some examples that I've come across in coaching in my own life. There are some stories that I could share. Soul vampires. Geez, that's a strong statement, Daryl Schwenke. If someone falls victim to a gaslighter, they can start to feel crazy, and addiction can become a part of their go-to escape. My first-hand experience took me there. Traumatic feelings. Interesting. What was an example of the Scotty W? What's the example of, I don't know, a snippet of a story of a gaslighting situation that really entangled you? Cognitive behavior therapy helps. Okay. Because what I'm going to share now is I didn't know this would fall under gaslighting. I'm just going to share a story where what happens is, like, you go over stuff like this and you're like, has this happened to me before? And I'm like, the Rolodex in your brain goes, choo, 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 choo. Oh yeah, actually. And I thought to myself, the most blatant lies that have affected me. Now, here's the thing about people that lie. There's harmless lies. When I was in high school, I used to go to high school. I think most people have. When I was in high school, I remember there was two guys. that were, like I said, friends, but not close friends. And I knew them growing up. In other words, they lived in the same city. And so you come across them in Little League and different things like this and, play sports and different stuff. And these guys, they were just liars. They were exaggerators and liars. And everyone knew it and thought it was funny. But when they would lie, it was pretty harmless. It would be something extravagant or bigger or badder, but it was such a whopper of a story that everyone knew it was bullshit. And I remember these guys like never changed also, but they wouldn't lie to hurt anyone, if that makes sense, in my experience. And the interesting thing is both guys were pretty good with women. Both of them had no problems getting a girlfriend or having a date. And like I said, they're regular liars. And I remember an example of this guy when I was out of college. I had moved away. I lived in San Diego, so I moved away from my hometown. So I'd come back to visit and go out with friends and have some drinks and revisit people. And then you run into people that stayed in your hometown. And this is so and so. This is this. Oh yeah. Oh, he's doing this now. So this one friend, like I said, even though he was a liar, he was a cool dude. He was never out to hurt anyone. He became at the time a parking cop or parking police, the ones in those little, and how do we know that? Because around town he was driving the parking police fucking vehicle, right? So it's not like, I just heard he was doing that. So it was known. This is the kind of whopper this guy would tell. He goes, well, actually, I'm just doing that right now because I'm training to be on the SWAT team. Straight face. Now, to me and everyone else around, they're like, okay, like, they'd be like, okay. It usually doesn't work that you go from parking cop, parking police to SWAT team. I think I think you need a few more things in between that time period, not to mention probably like 10, 15 years of experience and marksmanship. And this guy was a bit out of shape on top of it. But that's just when that's just when someone just, like I said, it's almost like just lying for sport. It's just part of their personality. But like I said, looking back, the interesting thing is the guy had women, right? And you just knew anything that came out of his mouth was just, extraordinarily off the wall bullshit. So I was thinking about here's a couple different situations that I thought were interesting. I had a former friend, and when I say that, I don't know if we call our friends exes, but a friend that I'm no longer friends with for various reasons. Won't get into that. But he was tracking his girlfriend on a app, and let's just say the app's kind of similar to like WhatsApp or one of these apps where you text your friends and whatnot. And he somehow hacked the app and was able to regularly see who she was texting and all her messages. And so he told me this one time. I was like, really? He already didn't trust her, and where there was smoke, there was fire. I think she was cheating on him before he was with her. She was highly promiscuous. It was obvious that she was a huge flirt, and it probably wasn't going to work out from the get-go. That being said, he made his own bet. I mean, it's one of those things from the outside looking in, you're like, yeah, bud, this is not work, but go for it. You know what I mean? You're complaining about all these things, but from the get-go, you knew what you were getting into. Now, so he goes and gets this evidence. He knows that she's talking to her ex, which she basically, what you would call monkey branch. She went straight to him after this other guy. So he'd go, have you talked to your ex recently? And she'd be like, no. And he knows damn well that she just talked to him 2 or 3 hours before. So I said to my buddy, I said, why don't you just confront her on this? And he looked at me and he's like, no, I'm actually enjoying it. And I thought to myself, what the fuck? And there's a lot of people that I've talked to that they actually like building a case, and it almost validates them being upset with their partner. And I think because him and his girlfriend had a business together, so he had another part to the situation. He ended up breaking up with her eventually, and she continued to lie. And he was getting off on the idea that he was catching her in all these lies. And then one day he dropped it on her that he knew and made a fool out of her. But the reality is, I'm like, who's the fool? I mean, at what point don't you just confront your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend at the moment you know something? Why would you continue to bleed the situation out? Well, the individual that was doing this was also an individual that's highly narcissistic and an individual that also gaslights. So in some weird way, it was like two gaslighting individuals or narcissistic people were together. And so they were getting off on collecting information on who was worse than the other. It was real. I mean, it ended up being a breakup. And guess what? At the end of the breakup, both sides were completely wrong. They had all this evidence of what a jerk the other person was. And the reality was, it's like, they were guilty of some faulty shit, right? I mean, in a healthy relationship, if you find out something, first of all, going behind your partner's back and infiltrating their text messages, not just looking at their phone, but actually hacking their phone to receive all their messages, that's just absolutely no trust. And if you need to do that and you find something that's going to show that they're guilty, you need to confront them on that. So that was an interesting situation where I thought he was holding information and then would gaslight her with question. He bait her into lies and actually enjoyed it. Then she would lie blatantly about who she's been with. He almost gets in a fight over it. So basically, eventually that broke down. But he would absolutely get off on the fact that he was catching her in these lies. And it got to a point, I think the end came when she had told him that a mutual friend of theirs, which basically told him in the beginning of the relationship, yeah, man, I'm not going to be around very much because me and her used to hook up. And he was like, what? And he was like, yeah, and it's not a big deal, but, we had a little thing in the past, and I'll probably won't be around, as much because I just think it's awkward. Which, dude was being honest with him. He went back to his girlfriend. His girlfriend goes, I never hooked up with him. He's a liar. I said, look, dude, your girlfriend seems a bit promiscuous. The guy that told you the truth. So the guy said, so he confronts the guy. The guy goes, look, man, I don't even want to talk about it. If that's what she said, that's fine. Let's just let it go. So he runs into him again at a restaurant, and he had been drinking, and he basically confronts him, and he's like, yeah, why would someone lie about hooking up with someone's girlfriend? I don't understand why you did that. And the guy goes, okay, man, right? And the guy's just like trying to let it go. And finally, my friend keeps on, and the guy goes, well, I did fuck her. I did hook up with her. And the guy, my friend, just loses it, attacks him, right? Goes back to his girlfriend at the time and confronts her, and she finally tells the truth. And she's like, actually, we did hook up. So when gaslighting can break down at some point, I believe, like blatant lie on blatant lie on blatant lie on blatant lie, at some point, a human being just has enough where they just break down. Have you ever had that happen where someone lies, and then they just break down and tell the truth because the evidence is too strong and they're just tired? So, someone that gaslights, you got to confront them, I believe. So I was thinking back in my own situations and when I've been lied to in a relationship that I knew about the lie. And so early on one of my first serious relationships, I was 19 or 20, like a real girlfriend situation. And I had this issue. I knew a couple guys that were friends of friends and different things that I hooked up with before. And when you're younger, you care about this more. Your ego is bigger and all that other shit. And so I was like, did you hook up with these guys? Like, I mean, did you sleep with them? No, never. I didn't. And now I can read when people are lying a lot better than I used to. I didn't believe her, but she kept telling me that. Now, first of all, it wasn't my business. Second of all, she was embarrassed. Third of all, eventually she told me the truth. When she told me the truth, I was done because I'm like, you lied to me. You lied to me. Now, the interesting part, when she lied, what's interesting about gaslighting is when someone blatantly lies, it's almost like they construct the lie in a way that makes you crazy for even asking, or makes you somehow a bad person for even asking. That I didn't feel at all. It was more like, no, I didn't do it. Like, let's change the subject, right? So there was some guilt there. Now, here's a story that's a doozy. And this is probably, there's two stories here that I have that weren't partners, they weren't girlfriends, but they were, this first one was a colleague, or actually a superior. She was a manager at the time. So this is actually a really good story. Thanks for the likes. 15 on deck, 2 likes. Go ahead and throw some more up there. Let me know if you have I'm letting the live stream kind of run right now, but I will circle back to it. But this story is really good. And this is when I thought to myself, when I'm reading this information about gaslighting, I'm like, oh shit, this is the ultimate gaslighting situation I've come across in my life. Or no, there's been 2. There's been 2, and they're worth mentioning because someone that's not, and let's just put hand in hand, a good gaslighter is probably narcissistic, and narcissistic people have a toolkit that they use, and they're willing to do and say things that you're not, and that's what appalls you sometimes and gets you entangled in their web and gets you either blowing the whistle like, look at how bad this person is, or explaining yourself when they're lying. So that's what I really see as one of the core worst things someone can do at the lowest level of gaslighting would be they get you to explain yourself when you didn't do something wrong. And I was looking at it like, well, if you're in a relationship and someone's blatantly lying, someone's doing this, and you realize that you can just leave. But actually, in some situations, you can't, because if someone entangles you enough or insults you enough, you want to explain yourself. So this situation here, are you ready for the story, Petty Betty? A long, long time ago, on a cold winter day. No, I'm just joking. This is when I used to work retail, right? I worked retail. I was selling shoes. I was in college. I was about 19 or 20 years old. I was right around that age. So this is fucking 20 years ago. That's how old I am. So this manager, when I say manager, I was 20. She was probably like 27, 28. So it wasn't like, and she was assistant manager or something like that. It wasn't like a store manager of the whole department or anything, but she's a manager. She's my superior. So she could be a little bit annoying. And looking back, I think she kind of liked me. And I don't mean that in a arrogant way, just the way she would talk to me. And at the time I had a girlfriend that would come visit sometimes, and she would just talk shit about the girlfriend, you know, like in a conniving, sarcastic way, but really it was probably jealousy. So she calls me in the back and she's like, there's a little loudspeaker in the back stock room, if you can imagine that. And she's like, Mac, I need you to come to the office. Mac, I need you to come to the office, right? I heard it. I let it ride for a little bit. I didn't really like her. And a little devious part of me is like, yeah, I'll go into the office when I get done with my task. I had a task where I was putting back some shoes or something like that. And I wanted to get that done first. And she continued to go, Mac, I need you to come to the office to speak to me now. So the way this loudspeaker worked, I couldn't talk back. This is 20 years ago technology. I'm sure there's some other, better stuff now. So I couldn't talk back. I didn't talk back. I continued. So I waited about 10 minutes. I let her, Mac, can you come to the office, please? And then she wait 2 minutes. Mac, can you come to the office, please? Right. So I come to the office finally, and she's like, I come in the office, and at 19, 20 years old, I have this little smirk on my face. Like, I know she's pissed off that I didn't run to the office from the back room. So I sit down, little smirk on my face, and she's like, did you hear me calling you in the office? I'm like, yeah, I heard you, but I was a little bit busy. And so, but I heard you. Yeah. And she's like, when I call you to come to the office, and she's talking over me as I'm sitting down, right? And like I said, I was in a good mood. I wasn't flustered by it. I was always good with managers. I never got too hot or too cold. And I said, yeah, I heard you. And she's like, Do you understand when I call you, you need to come to the office? I'm your manager. You need to listen to me. Yeah, I understand. Just with a face like that. Do you understand? And she like over the top of me, like, do you understand though? I don't think you understand the way you're smirking right now. I said, I understand you. Okay. She did it one more time. Do you understand me? I don't know what happened. I've only had this happen in my life a few times where you just, not a few times, but I mean, just a human nature thing. I flipped, and it was the condescending voice and talking over me. And I said, I fucking understand you. Right? Because it was like the sixth time she said it to me talking. I go, I'm not a little kid. I'm not a child. I understand you. You called me in the back to come in the office, and I didn't come right away. And you're saying to come, like, and I yelled, but I just erupted. It wasn't premeditated, right? Wasn't anywhere near getting physical. I raised my voice and I got angry and I jumped up. She was like this, right? I calmed down, whatever. She left the room. Now that was gaslighting me, if you ask me. So she goes and gets the manager of the department, who's her superior, who I had a good relationship with. I have a good reputation in the department. I was a good worker. I was a good salesperson. I did my job. She comes in. She's like, oh my God, can I talk to you for a moment? It's like, yeah, no problem. I'm still a little bit hot, but I'm already cooled down. I'm one of those people. I don't hold shit. I don't like being angry about stuff like that. So, it's just been reported to me that you physically threatened. We'll just say her name's Wendy. I'm just gonna make up a name, Wendy, and she's saying that you actually were about to strangle her, and you had your hands like this, like you were gonna put them around her neck. And so I'm gonna have to maybe file a report about this. And I was like, what? What? I said, now I lost it. Yeah, like I'm just like, what? And this is 20 years ago, Rob. I would have, if this happened now, I would have already been guilty, right? And I was like, Joanne, I was like, you know me, I've worked here for a little while now. And she's like, well, I have to take this seriously. She's scared. And she was in the room. She's just like, and I'm like, I did not get physical in any way. I raised my voice. I got loud, and I'm sorry for that. I apologize. But I did not come anywhere near putting my hands around her neck or doing that. Right? And she's like looking at me. If that was a real situation, most people would be crying. They wouldn't want to be back in the room with the other individual. I mean, the dots that didn't line up here, right? So I go, I apologize to you for raising my voice. Now, to me, this is what came up when you asked me about gaslighting. This was the ultimate gaslighting situation to me, because in my head, I was like, you just turned a situation where you were pissed off because I didn't run into the office right when you called me. You felt disrespected. So you created a huge situation where you basically demeaned me in the office 7 times, asking me if I understood you like a little kid. And then when I got upset and raised my voice, you go and tell your manager that you thought I was ready to strangle you and put my hand around your neck. This is one of those situations where I started explaining myself. It was like fully entangled in her web. And as I'm explaining myself, she's sitting back like, I remember it like it was fucking yesterday and it's 20 years ago. That's a real gaslighter. And she's sitting back like this. Now, what has she created, folks? She's got an apology. She's got power. She's got someone on her side. And she's the judge and jury right now, because in order to make this situation go away, she has to accept my apology. So I say that. I say, look, to my man, I go, I'm sorry that I got loud, and if you got upset or I hurt your feelings, but saying that I'm going to get physical is crossing the line. That is not true, and that's not who I am, and you know that. And then the lady's like, well, Wendy, Are you okay with his apology? Because otherwise, did you want to write a report about this? So deep down, the higher didn't leave her either, and she takes a few minutes. Takes a few minutes on it. I was absolutely shocked, right? Takes a few minutes on it, and then goes, okay. But I did feel like you were going to hurt me. And if you do that again and whatnot, like create this whole situation, what did I have to do? I apologize. I walked away and I learned a big lesson in that moment. That was a colleague, that was a superior of mine. And at the time, that was a good job for me, right? That job paid me well. It was flexible with school and I was good at it. And I was respected at that job. And I think I only worked there 6 months. I didn't want to lose my job. She had went kneecaps on me in a millisecond and she didn't even flinch. And the thing that she threw out there, I've heard of other people having partners that do this. That's scary. So how did I treat this situation? Instead of getting angry, I obviously told a few people the story, explained it, whatever. But I got to look out for her. And if she calls me next time in the back office, yeah, I'm not going to run, but yeah, I'll come again. And I'll know that me and her are going to be strictly business. She asked me to do something, I will do it. There's going to be no sarcasm. And that's what I'll have to deal with as an employee at that job. Do I need to kiss her ass? No. But any kind of sarcasm or game playing where she might feel like she's been disrespected, where she's willing to go, I'm not willing to go. And so I had to say, I got to take that one, put it in the Rolodex and know who I'm dealing with. And not put myself in a situation where she wants to basically hurt me, right? Basically hurt me, right? So that was probably one of the all-time situations of being gaslit. Actually, being that age, I handled it really well because a lot of people might have quit or made her. I didn't make her an enemy. After that, like I said, I just respected the fact of what she was capable of doing as a liar. And so I just kept myself from situations like that. I do have another story. We're at the 47-minute mark, so I'm going to go through the live stream. Do you guys want to hear the other story? Was that interesting? So let's see here. Just want to respect who's on deck. So if someone falls victim to a gaslight, they can start to feel crazy. Addiction can become part of their go-to escape. My firsthand experience, cognitive behavioral therapy helps. The codependent type may allow a certain degree of gaslighting if they feel a far of being out of the relationship. My husband, I found out later, was a serial cheater. The crazy part was he always accused me of cheating on him. Guilty much. Yeah, this is something that they say that gaslighters do or narcissists do. I think it's certainly something to think of if someone's trying to get out in front of. Also, if someone knows what they're capable of, they assume that other human beings are capable of the same thing. If someone knows what they're capable of, they assume that other human beings are capable of the same thing. For example, someone that's more likely to be a thief is more likely to lock all their doors, be much more cautious because they assume that there's other thieves out there. Petty Betty, Brian Union, how you doing? Constantly being accused of untruths concerning my daughter and ex making up stuff and had me thinking she genuinely believed these lies. Long story, but over a long period, traumatic stuff. And I think that that's probably one of the worst things. And that's what I just shared with this colleague. When someone creates a fabricated lie that assaults your character and puts you in a position where you can get in real trouble or harm, I don't know if that's gaslighting or if that's just an individual that's just so dark and into getting their way that they're willing to go. Like that individual that I dealt with at work, I'm like, I don't want to fight with someone like that because they're willing to go so low. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you were a kid in middle school, even when I was in elementary school, I was really quick with my mouth. I was a smart ass. Surprise, surprise. I like to joke around, make fun, different things like that. And I just remember, and I thought I was pretty fucking clever, looking back. And you make a joke or you make fun, when you make fun of your friends and stuff like that. Maybe some of you don't, but you know what I mean? Like, especially buddies, like you tease each other, you make fun. And then someone out of nowhere, you're making fun of someone and the way they dance, or, you're just cutting someone down, right? Someone out of nowhere will just be like, yeah, your mom's a fucking hoe. It's just like, whoa, dude. It's like, or they just go for something. I had a friend like that. It was just like, where did that come from? It's like, I don't care if someone's gonna make fun of me. I'm just gonna stop it right there. I'm just like, dude. It's like, why would you go so low? We're having fun, joking around, and giving each other a hard time as friends, and you just went into some deep, dark place where you're trying to kneecap the individual. And have you ever had a friend like that? And you're just like, whoa, dude, we don't even want to fucking clown around with you. And they thought they were like really cool. In reality, it was just highly insecure. Cool. I think my ex was a narcissist. When someone believes their own lies, that becomes pathological. And there are people out there like that you're like, they believe this shit. Constant behavior that just didn't add up and total denial. She even said the things that she did. Wow, Scotty. Sounds like a textbook gaslighter. Can you really do that? Track people? I've never done it, Petty Betty, but I'm sure with the technology that's out there, yes. I don't advise it. I think it's illegal. And I think that if you have to go that far, you have zero, you have minus trust. And there's a little sickness in you that you want to accumulate that much evidence of wrongdoing. A lot of times people, look what they did wrong to me. Look what they did wrong to me. Look what they did wrong to you. So what does that make you, a victim or an idiot? I mean, when are you going to speak up for yourself? When are you going to speak up for yourself? Even when I showed proof on text, she just changed the subject every time because couldn't look in the mirror at her own words, like total denial. What comes to mind, Scotty, is desperation. Desperation and the complete lack of what comes to mind, Scotty, is desperation. Desperation and the complete lack of morals. But I think there's some people in certain situations that want something so bad that they'll do anything to get what they want. And there's also situations where people go so far, there's no turning back for them. Crazy, stupid love. What do you do in the dark always comes to light? Isn't that Jung, Carl Jung's? The same narcissistic person you are referring to sometimes always surrounds themselves among people that are not willing to confront those narcissistic ways, thus creating a control over them. Okay. Sounds kind of like It's Not Your Fault scene from Good Will Hunting. I don't remember that scene. That's a good movie too. Yeah, Rob writes, what, Strangler? Like I said, when it was thrown out there, I'm like, what? I just remember going, in modern times, that would be called a Karen? Really? I've read that somewhere before. What's up, Windy Dawn? How are you? The way you fix that situation is to know persuasion techniques without losing your emotional self-center. Most people, I would imagine, can't figure out how to win in situations like that. Seek to understand, not to be understood. Looking back, I'm surprised at the fact that, like, I knew, like I said, I didn't want to battle with this individual. I liked that job. It was good money at the time. It was flexible schedule. And so I didn't want to deal with that. And someone that was willing to go that far, what are we going to get in another argument where I get accused of something like that? So I just steered clear of any kind of confrontation. I did my job. I did my duties. I didn't kiss ass, and I neutralized the situation. And I, kept it in my back pocket in my head, like, don't mess around with this person. They don't play. I was a big time smart ass, Petty Betty. Still can be on occasion, but much more mild. Okay, I did say I had one other story, right? So this story came to mind. because it happened. What's up, Scotty Fitzgerald? All is well. The more you try to get them to see rationality, the more fire you give them. They have no limits. This is the quote I wrote. Maybe I should put this on Instagram, Scotty. Gaslighting. Dead wrong acts of no accountability with full explanations that bleed of BS. You like that one? I thought that's pretty elegant. Let's post this here. Dead wrong acts of no accountability with full explanations that bleed of BS. I mean, so this is a situation to win if you allow them to get a reaction and create doubt in your mind. I guess the best way to act is neutral, or just go, okay. But I mean, when you're in a situation where I'm sure if you're talking about an individual that you had a daughter with, what's the book, Betty? But if you had a daughter with, I mean, you have them lying about who you are and what you do could seriously affect visitation rights and whatnot. So I mean, it's really hard to neutralize that when you, like I said, when it was a colleague. So I recently had a situation with a neighbor in the community I live in, small community I live in, where they actually had access to the water that goes to the houses in the community. And the water's in control of her house and her property. And there was some rumors or whisperings that she might want to charge for the water down the road, or that she doesn't want us to use the water. But there's a rule when I had bought my house that you had 90 days to give notice, which just seems right. If you don't want us to use that water any longer, which is your water or on your land, then you have to give the individuals in the community 90 days. And that was written in. So that's just plain contractual thing. So we get wind of, I don't even want to tell the story because I don't want to get, because I've let it go and it pissed me off so much, but it's such an example of gaslighting because of the entanglement. And I'm going to get deeper into that. So basically what happens one day, she comes and tells some other neighbor. What first reported to me is that something broke on the well, and this is what she's reporting to everyone in the neighborhood. So you should go get a water truck. And where I live, you can get these water trucks that fill your thing of water. So blatant lie. Someone else goes over there. The gardener ends up divulging. The gardener ends up divulging that, the pipe wasn't broken. The pipe wasn't broken. She cut the pipe, or whatever was the access. And basically, a couple neighbors are like, "Is that true?" I mean, because first of all, people went over there to take a look at fixing it, and then she admits later on, like, "Yeah, I'm the one that cut the." So she admits to the blatant lie, and I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. It just reminds me of the situation when I was younger, that an adult individual in their 30s would cut off water to neighbors' homes, lie about it, then totally disregard the fact that there's a 90-day clause and letting people know. Then in a town hall meeting with the community, attacks the gardener and gets his salary chopped up and says he's a horrible worker. I mean, and it didn't stop there. The tough part is her partner is a good friend of mine. So it was very conflicting for me. But this absolutely gaslit the fuck out of me. I mean, like I had trouble letting it go on a lot of different, because I literally had no water in my toilet for 2 days. It's like, you did that, and you're not even accountable. You're just gonna say, "Yeah, I did it." You broke a contractual. I mean, there's so many things to this, right? And the crazy part was, it's like Scotty trying to convince this individual that they did something wrong is like talking to a wall. They had reasons that they had come up with in their head that were so immature and stupid that, I mean, interacting with you, it's gaslighting at its finest, because in your head, you're just like, I can't even interact with someone like this, but it pisses me off, right? And this is another situation when you deal with an individual like this, you're like, this is a neighbor. I'm going to have to deal, like, I can't just run away from it. The thing is, if you're in a relationship, hopefully, this is what's really tough. Because I thought about this, because I was like, I haven't really had a partner, a girlfriend, that I thought gaslit me into a situation where I was like, damn, you fucking. But this neighbor and that situation with that manager before, those are the worst situations I've ever witnessed it. And it always stemmed with blatant lies, and then just piling on more and more bullshit. And at some point you're like, can you just tell the truth? Like, at some point you're like, so you're not going to be accountable or responsible for this, and you're going to validate it with more crap. And that, I think, is the hard part, is when someone starts validating it with more lies, bullshit, and me type stuff. Because at the end of the day, the process of gaslighting results in what? I'm doing this to benefit myself in some way. That's the core of it, right? Someone's going to manipulate the situation so that they look better or feel better. But the elephant in the room is, the opponent of gaslighting is taking responsibility or accountability and saying, like, you know what? I was scared. I shut off the water because my electric bill was really high, and I thought maybe this was because of the well. It was a situation. I shouldn't have done it. I went against the rule. No, none of that. None of that. And then repeatedly went around and lied after that. How do you respect an individual after that? That's a question I had. I had a lot of trouble with it. I'm like, can you just let that go? Again, back pocket. I know who you are by your actions, not your words. And the funny thing is, you're like I said, you see something like that, and sometimes, and this might sound weak, but correct me if I'm wrong, Scotty, because you've dealt with this firsthand. People like this, do they scare you a little bit, Scotty? I mean, Rob, do they like the capability of someone willing to go this far in a lie that actually hurts other individuals? Does it scare you to deal with people like this? It's almost like if you were a boxer, right? And you were, I remember, I don't know if it was Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm showing my age, but you remember Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I think it was Kickboxer or one of these ones. And they go downstairs and they fight in this huge brawl. And the guy's got this ponytail. He looks all rough. And the guy fucking puts glass all around his fucking masking. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's basically, to me, like you're fighting with someone that's willing to fight dirty. And you're like, wow, I've been a boxer or a kickboxer or a Muay Thai. I've been this for so long, and I'm willing to get my ass kicked, and I'm willing to fight someone. But are you willing to fight someone that's like, what do you do when someone's willing to fight with glass around their knuckles? Like, what do you do with that? I would say that, even if you're Mike Tyson, you're like, dude, this guy has a reputation for putting, snake oil on his gloves. Would you fight that individual? Well, you got to stand up for yourself. I don't know if someone that's willing to be that slithery, snaky, and dirty. I mean, gaslighting at its harshest level, it's dangerous, dude. It's more than manipulative to have someone you work with tell someone that they felt like you were about to strangle them. Like, that is dangerous. That's scary. Those kind of things to throw out there. It's like those kind of, someone would be like, well, what do you do with someone like that? Fucking stay away from them. It's like a dog that bites. Oh, let me see if I can make it stop biting. No, you just go, you know what? I'm just going to walk on the other side of the fucking sidewalk. The tough thing is, like Scotty W here, you got a kid with the woman, or like I said, you work with someone, you gotta learn how to maneuver with them. I mean, because anything you say and do will be held against you. And so the minute you're able to go out the back door, get the fuck out of there, is what I would say. And keep very good track. If you're in a legal situation, I would keep very good track. I wouldn't put things in emails that could be misconstrued. I would have a friend come with me as a witness to be around that individual. Those are other things you can do. But those two examples that I gave you that weren't girlfriends, I literally just remember being absolutely shocked that a human being would just blatantly lie. And those two incidents came up to me because the worst part of it is, especially the most recent one, it fucking bothered me for a while. I couldn't let it go. It was like a open loop where I didn't get closure because the other person never was responsible. And it's almost like you want everyone to know, like, look at this farce, look at this person and what they're doing and how much they affected me. And they're going to continue to do it. Does anyone else see this? And it really amps you up. All I can say is, my suggestion is, know what you're dealing with going in. You're not going to change them. Stay out of as many confrontations as you can because they're going to do way more than you'll ever do to win. And keep your distance if you can. If you have to negotiate with them because of legal matters or you have a common interest like a business, this is why we have lawyers. And bring a witness, because the gaslighting at its worst, very bad. It's a mental battle you will never win. In fact, it will destroy you. They can convince the police department too, if you know what I mean. By the time you feel a need to bring a witness, you already know you need to walk away. Good point, XM3. I'm just saying that if it's a situation where there's some situations you can't just not be there, right? It's like, I chose to not go to the meeting with the neighbors because I was just like, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I don't want to get in an argument with this individual because they fight dirty. I don't want to put myself in that situation. And so I chose not to go. And I think it was a good call. That being said, I still carried a lot of shit from it. Sometimes you just get stuck in a situation because you put it off like it's not a big deal. Then it becomes suffocating because you can't take it anymore. Sure, enough is enough. I think those situations start out small. Don't get noticed in a start of a relationship. Then they escalate before you know it. I guess one of the things that I would say too is if you're in a new relationship with someone like this and you've never come across someone that's a gaslighter or manipulative or narcissistic, that you don't even know what you're dealing with until it's too late, probably. I would say that one of the benefits I've had in my own life of actually working at a women's shoes job and multiple retail. I mean, I've worked, since I was 16. I was a paper boy. I had these different jobs while I was in college and worked with a lot of different people, a lot of different ages. You learn how to deal with these situations. And I remember a guy that I worked with at the time when I was really pissed about this, and I was pissed. Joe Maraglia, if he's still around, good fucking dude. Joe was about my age right now. I think he was 38, 39, and I was about, like I said, 19, 20 years old. And I was just pissed about that situation. And he goes, Mac, dude, he goes, bro, you got to roll with the punches, man. And I didn't get it at first. And he was like, no, you just got to roll with the punches, man. What does that mean? What does that mean? What did he mean by that, to roll with the punches? He means that shit like this is going to happen. You got to deal with it. You going around telling everyone how bad it is, right? Look what they did. Look what they did. Because I've done it too. Like, can you believe what this individual did? And then I'll share the story like I'm sharing it right now. And then I share the story again, share the story again. And we have this going on a lot right now. Oh, look what this person did. Look what this person did. Look what they did. What do you do to make the world a better place? Don't entangle yourself with other individuals like this. If you entangle yourself, the more you get in with them, like I said, it's just you're just gonna go, wow, you really put fucking broken glass around your knuckles before you fought me. I wasn't willing to go that far. And the thing I think that really gets lost, Scotty, we got two Scotties on. It comes back to this, and this is one of the golden rules that I found in breakup coaching and dealing with people. Is we all have this model of how we believe things run. It's like, well, if you do this, then this happens. If you do that, then this happens. We all have these sequences of rules and morals and whatnot. And you come across individuals that do gaslighting and blatantly lie about important things, and you're like, why would anyone be that way? The reality is there's a lot of people like that. They just don't operate the way you operate. And so once you identify that, you really have to disentangle yourself from their web. Eventually, though, they do become exposed as others in their life. Their world deal with the same. I'd imagine a very lonely life in the end as they count their relationship losses, including friends. That's a great point, Scotty, because I've noticed that individuals that I've dealt with that have been narcissistic or gaslighters, even that person I mentioned earlier that I would call a former friend, I'm not the only one that's had issues with them for different reasons. And so if you're exactly right, at some point, that kind of behavior that they're getting away with as an adult, you're going to end up out on an island. You're going to end up pretty lonely. The worst case scenario is when some individual enables them to act that way, whether that's a family member or their partner. Sometimes you just have to nod your head, smile, and carry on about your day. Let them have the pitiful wins and know you have more insight to them than they do about themselves. That's a great way to put it, XM3. Where are you from, bud? I haven't seen you on the live stream before. Family partners, it all falls apart for them. Well, I mean, the amazing thing is if you think about kids, right? Kids are little narcissist buggers, right? I mean, they're highly selfish, especially as teenagers. They're manipulative. They do what they want to get what they want. A lot of times they put themselves first. And really the difference in the kids changing is how they're raised, the environment. And it's not just parenting. I always thought that before. I always thought, wow, how would, this family that has 4 kids, how is Bobby, a superstar student and athlete, and then Karen is a total degenerate drug addict, and then Ronnie is always in fights, in and out of jail, and then the youngest boy, Roger, is a really good kid that's really nice to everyone. Everyone was like, wow, they had the same set of parents. Well, they were born different. No, the reality is, yeah, they had the same set of parents, but they still had separate life experiences at separate moments. And even these individual environments of different classrooms and different teachers and different groups of friends from Little League and all that shit is thrown in the pot and affects who they are. It's not just the parenting. It starts with the parenting. It helps a lot. But good parenting can be beat by bad environments. Good parenting can be beat by one loser friend that coaxes a kid at 14, 15, 16 years old to do heroin or something. Oh yeah, they all figure it out eventually. It's not just you. There are more than one. All right, folks, I've gone on and on. I think I've unpacked this pretty clean. I am scheduled to come on tomorrow, I believe at 7 p.m. Indochina time. I'm making a commitment this week, so please do join. We got 10 on deck, which isn't a huge group, but we'll take it, right? Isn't a huge group, but we'll take it, right? Any closing questions since I've gone on so long? Any closing questions? I've gone on so long. Interesting. How to build meaningful relationships through communication. If you're reading a book like that, Petty Betty, the one that you might really want to take a look at is I should actually talk about this in the show. The nonviolent communication technique by Marshall. I'm gonna have to bring it up another time. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you, bud. Hope to see you tomorrow. I'm a little exhausted by this today. Actually, I did a lot of talking. Let me see if I missed anyone's comments here. Oh. All right, folks, it's curtains. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.